Iron Beam goes active, and goodbye, Jimmy. It's 5 and 10 from Skywatch TV. 5 things you need to know in about 10 minutes for Friday, September 19th, 2025. I'm Derek Gilbert. It's our Friday 5 to 5 big stories of the week. Item number 5 again this week is Charlie Kirk. As the conspiracy theories continue to swirl despite the lack of evidence, the attempt to connect Israel to the death of Charlie Kirk is being driven by a couple of alternative broadcasters on the right, most notably Candace Owens. And the claims that she's made that there was an intervention staged by wealthy hedge fund investor Bill Ackman, who is a Jewish American, and Seth Dillon, the CEO of the Babylon Bee, has been denied by both Ackman and Dillon and other people who were at the meeting, including Charlie, member of Charlie's staff. So there is no evidence of an offer to bribe Charlie in order to persuade him to be more pro-Israel. There was no evidence that Benjamin Netanyahu called and offered $150 million, nothing more than Candace Owens' imagination. And yet that has blown up to become accepted fact among a certain group who want to blame Israel for this. Look, I am all about questioning the official narrative, because one thing we've learned over the last 20, 50, 100 years is that the official narrative is almost always a cover story. But until the evidence points in another direction, we've got to go with what's in front of us. And frankly, what's in front of us is the connection of the alleged shooter, 22-year-old Tyler Robinson, and a group called Armed Queers SLC, Salt Lake City. This is an LGBTQ group that's being investigated now by the FBI for possible ties to the Charlie Kirk shooter. The owner, or the founder rather, of this group has been identified as a radical transgender political organizer with ties to communist politics. Armed Queers SLC very quietly scrubbed its online presence the day after Charlie was assassinated, but law enforcement told the New York Post that all open source information on the group was already downloaded and turned over to the FBI. This information includes posts from its founder, Urmia Fanayan, that's her on the left there, holding the rifle. She's the child of Iranian immigrants here in the United States. Her Instagram bio calls for revolution plus trans liberation in our lifetime. She's also advocated violence to achieve the aims of LGBTQ groups. Remember, Tyler Robinson was living with a male partner who was transitioning to female and who, based on his online presence, was apparently a member of the furry community, people who like to dress up as animals and pretend that they are dogs, cats, whatever. Fanayan and Armed Queers SLC on investigators' radar as the FBI is widening its probe to include a potential extended network that may have helped the alleged shooter and perhaps had prior knowledge of his attempt on Charlie Kirk's life. Fanayan, by the way, and a man who called himself Connor, described their trip to Cuba in a since-deleted May video titled "Cuba Report Back, Our Time as 2025 Mayday Brigadistas." And interestingly, Fanayan also managed back in 2019 to get on stage with then presidential candidate Senator Elizabeth Warren. She's been recognized and acknowledged as an up-and-comer in Democratic Party politics. Where this investigation goes, we don't know, but we'll present to you the evidence as it comes forward. And when there is no evidence, and others are claiming there is, we will point that out also. Topic number 4 today, the United Nations. U.S. is once again standing alone. On Thursday, it cast the only dissenting vote to a UN Security Council resolution demanding an immediate and permanent ceasefire in Gaza. This resolution was voted for by the other 14 members of the UN Security Council. It also called for Israel to lift all restrictions on humanitarian aid entering the Palestinian territory. We note that just yesterday, 3 trucks filled with baby food were commandeered by Hamas gunmen right outside United Nations offices in the Gaza Strip. It will no doubt be sold to residents of Gaza to provide Hamas money to continue paying its soldiers. This is the 6th time that the U.S. has vetoed a Security Council resolution calling for a ceasefire since the war against Hamas began on October 7th of 2023. This pattern consistently puts the United States really in diplomatic isolation, even against close allies like the United Kingdom, which reportedly is going to recognize Palestine as an independent state as soon as President Trump concludes his visit to the United Kingdom. Apparently, Sir Keir Starmer didn't have the courage to do it while President Trump was there in country. This resolution was drafted by 10 of the elected members of the 15-member Security Council, demanded not only an immediate ceasefire, but the immediate, dignified, and unconditional release of all hostages held by Hamas and other groups, end quote. Of course, Hamas and those other groups in the Strip are not going to agree to that. Additionally, called again for Israel to allow full unrestricted aid to flow into Gaza. Morgan Ortagus, who's the U.S. counselor at the U.S. mission in the United States, stated that the council members, quote, opted for a performative action designed to draw a veto that extends Hamas terrorists and those who fund them and support them and gives them a lifeline, end quote. Israel's ambassador to the U.S., Danny Danon, said, quote, this is not diplomacy. This is surrender, emphasizing that Israel would continue military operations until all the hostages are returned. Again, the war could end right now if Hamas would surrender, lay down its weapons, and release the hostages. This could have happened at any point over the last 23 months. The fact that it hasn't is on Hamas, not Israel. Topic number 3 today, Iron Beam. The IDF has just rolled out its new high-powered laser defense system. It has passed a final round of testing and will be ready for active deployment as soon as the end of this year. This has been developed by a defense company in Israel called Rafael. It was first introduced back in 2014, but they've had to work on the technical issues involved with actually powering a high-powered laser system. A lower-powered version of this has already been used to knock down some smaller projectiles from Hezbollah in the north. This will be used against larger projectiles, incoming missiles. However, it does have some downsides. The main downside of a laser system is that it doesn't function well in low visibility settings, including heavy cloud cover or other inclement weather. Sort of like satellite internet. But it is something that, at least as long as it's got a power source, is never going to run out of, it's not like you have to get more missiles. It will always be ready. Topic number 2 today, Poland. Interesting story from Poland. A leading Polish news outlet reported Tuesday that investigators have determined that the home that was damaged during last week's Russian drone incursion, which you see in the photo on the screen, was actually caused by an unexploded missile launched by a Polish F-16 trying to knock down the drones. National Security Bureau in Poland claimed that neither it nor President Karol Nawrocki were informed of these findings by the Prime Minister Donald Tusk or the members of his government. Nawrocki then confirmed that, yes, we were not informed of this before the investigators found the unexploded missile. Nawrocki represents the conservative nationalist opposition in Poland, and he's promised ahead of time to not to approve sending Polish troops into Ukraine to fight Russia. Tusk represents the globalist faction inside in other words, the deep state that is agitating for war with Russia, and it appears that by withholding this information from President Nawrocki, Prime Minister Tusk and his followers were hoping to con Nawrocki into saying, okay, we can't allow this we need a no-fly zone over Poland, which is what one of the members of Tusk's government was calling for. Former President Andrzej Duda said that Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky, in a similar event back in November of 2022, tried to lure Poland into actively participating in the war against Russia. It appears, again, there is a deep state inside Poland and inside the European Union at large that, like the deep state here in the United States, really wants World War III. Let's pray that they do not get what they want. Coming up, goodbye, Jimmy Kimmel. That is next on 5 and 10.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we want to remind you that Skywatch TV is a viewer-supported ministry, and right now your support helps us not only stay on the air, but also continue the mission through our networks and digital platform, reach areas of the world with the gospel message of Jesus Christ that are unable to financially support us. When you order the new book, Golgotha's Groaning, packed with stunningly unique biblical disclosures from Genesis to Revelation that will shake the end times world, we will send it to you as our gift for your donation of $25 or more. Now that includes free shipping to all U.S. addresses. So again, for your donation of only $25 or more, you'll receive Golgotha's Groaning with free shipping, and you'll be helping Skywatch TV continue reaching the world with the gospel. You can scan the QR code on your screen using the camera app on your phone for instant access to this special opportunity. You can also visit us at skywatchtvstore.com or call 1-844-750-4985 and ask for Golgotha's Groaning right now.
Item number one today, Jimmy Kimmel. His program has been pulled as of Wednesday by Disney-owned ABC. Late-night talk show host Jimmy Kimmel has been put on indefinite suspension, which is sort of a polite way of saying you're fired. You see, earlier this week he lied about the suspect in the Charlie Kirk assassination, saying the 22-year-old Tyler Robinson was MAGA. In other words, a conservative. This is a pattern on the left. They lie and hope that they don't get called out for it, but leftist talking heads have been trying to promote this agenda, and leftist talking heads very upset about the firing of Jimmy Kimmel. MSNBC's Chris Hayes, for example, who said, quote, this is just the latest chapter in Donald Trump's ongoing campaign to crack down on free speech, dominate the media, and essentially render the First Amendment meaningless, end quote. Except that if we roll back the clock just a little bit to when Tucker Carlson was taken off the air by Fox News, Hayes said this, quote, he believed he could say anything no matter how vile, no matter how disgusting, no matter how offensive. And if you act like a sociopath over and over and over, you will become unpopular in the national stage, end quote. In other words, it's okay if you fire conservatives, but when it comes to a progressive like Jimmy Kimmel, who's essentially a mouthpiece for the establishment, the deep state, that's no good. The hypocrisy is obvious, and Hayes deserves to be called out for it. Now, I will say this. The FCC should stay out of things like this. Kimmel, free speech. He can say what he wants to say. His bosses don't have to tolerate it, but the FCC should not get involved in telling ABC or strongly suggesting ABC do something about that, unless he's actively calling for more violence, because there won't always be conservatives in Washington, D.C., and we should not allow government bureaucrats to determine what is and what is not allowable speech in the United States. They've got that going on right now in the United Kingdom. It's not going well. This week on Skywatch TV, we continue our fascinating discussion with Pastor Carl Gallups. His new book, Golgotha's Groaning, shows you how the ultimate end of Jesus, the goal of Jesus, was to go to the cross. And it's encoded in the very shape of the Paleo-Hebrew letters used to write the Old Testament. In fact, beginning with Genesis 1, verse 1. You can watch the program right now at our website, skywatchtv.com. You can catch it over the air. Our broadcast schedule is posted at our website, skywatchtv.com/channels. Now, if you want to have us broadcast on your schedule, just go ahead and add it to your smart TV or set-top box. Fingers are a little jittery today. That's good for Apple TV, Amazon Fire TV, Roku, Google TV, Android TV. Just check their app stores. We've got the Skywatch TV app in all of them, and just add it to your smart TV or set-top box, and you're good to go. Our mobile app is also available for you, and it is free of charge, available for iOS, Android, and Amazon Kindle Fire phones and tablets. And we have links to their app stores at our website, skywatchtv.com/app. We're going to Israel just 1 month from today. We will be heading to Israel October 19th through the 30th. If you've got a passport and you're curious to see some of the sites that are key in this long supernatural war, and see with your own eyes that what's being reported about Israel in the West is not the reality on the ground in Israel, consider joining us. We'll be there October 19th through the 30th, and going to places that are off the beaten track, like Gilgal Rephaim, the Shamir Dolman Field. We will go to Bethel and see where Jacob saw the stairway to heaven. We'll go to Shiloh and see the red heifers on the Sea of Galilee, and we'll worship on the water where Jesus walked. And of course, we'll go to Jerusalem as well. Go to the Temple Mount, the Mount of Olives, the Western Wall tunnels, and much more. City of David. And if you want to find out more, just check. We've got our itinerary posted at our website, gilberthouse.org/travel. That's gilberthouse.org/travel. Follow 5 in 10 online. We're on YouTube at 5 in 10. If you would, please subscribe, share, click the bell for notifications, hit the like button, and leave your comments below. You can also follow us on X, posting stories there at 5_in_10, and now on Telegram. Join our Telegram channel. That is t.me/5in10, t.me/5in10. And thank you for watching. As we keep watch, have a blessed weekend. I'm Derek Gilbert. This is 5 in 10 from Skywatch TV.